Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. In today's coverage, we're going to continue to have a look at the ongoing situation, the ongoing crisis between Russia, Ukraine, NATO, and the West. So, specifically, we'll start first with a rundown of news that is coming out of both mainstream and not so mainstream media news outlets. So, what do we have here? We got Deutsche Welle. Why Germany refuses weapons deliveries to Ukraine. CNN, this is our last chance. Experts raise alarm on Russia, Ukraine. Mail Online, 6 Russian landing ships sail past Britain, sparking speculation they are bound for Ukraine. Mirror.co.uk, 6 Russian landing ships sail past, same thing. Let's see here. Oman Observer, Putin to Ukraine, marry me or I'll kill you. Interesting. TASS, EU threatens massive anti-Russian sanctions if situation in Ukraine deteriorates. France 24, Blinken in Kiev to back Ukraine as Putin stares down West. New York Times, a video, Blinken warns of Russia plans for short notice attack on Ukraine. So again, by all indications, both from now, even U.S. government resources, it would appear that Russia has all the needed assets in place to launch a operation into Ukraine. Obviously, we're starting to see those 6 ships, 3 from the Baltic Sea Fleet and 3 from the North Sea Fleet that appear to be heading towards the Atlantic. And again, these are 6 of the Rapucha class landing ships. Again, I wouldn't put too much. I just really wouldn't put too much into the fact that these 6 ships could be heading to the Black Sea. While they do have the ability to probably put a regimental size unit onshore, it's just really something I don't believe we're going to see in terms of major amphibious landings. Now we could see amphibious landings, but it being the centerpiece of an attack on the Ukraine, I would say it's highly doubtful. We've heard reports that we could see in one of the operational plans that was released by certain media outlets, it was suggested that the Russians could be planning a landing near Odessa, specifically to the east of Odessa, and that is something that I would say is fairly unlikely. Again, the Russians would have to have the ability to quickly support that amphibious landing. And again, you're looking at a force that would be landing on the western side of the Dnieper River. So that force would be in real jeopardy of quite possibly at some point being surrounded and attacked by Ukrainian army units, specifically possibly heavy units as well, that could be brought up against any of these amphibious landings. I would say more so forces that would land west of the Dnieper River. I would say it's more likely that if we were going to see some sort of amphibious landing, we would see some sort of pincer movement where we would see a landing take place west of Mariupol while attacking forces try to push through the defenses that are east of Mariupol, and then eventually circumvent, envelop, and surround Mariupol, and those landing, those amphibious attacks again, would be designed to draw forces from the front lines around the eastern separatist areas, because again, that's where a lot of the Ukrainian forces are currently deployed in terms of possibly threatening an operation against the separatists and the Russian army units that are obviously operating in eastern Ukraine as well. But the concept that we would see an amphibious landing near Odessa or east of Odessa, way over here, again, it's just something that I think is probably misinformation. Russia would have to have a plan where it would deploy either airborne troops within the vicinity to reinforce Odessa, but ultimately they would have to have a breakthrough. They would have to push up from the Crimea, cross over the Dnieper River, and really kind of a host of rivers that separate this prospective landing site near Odessa from the major force concentrations in Crimea and the major force concentrations in eastern Ukraine, with the separatists and the 150th mechanized division, which would probably be used in said attack. But again, they are additional assets that are being brought to bear, and I would say that initially, at first, you would have to see the Russian military soften up the Ukrainian air defense network. Again, if they were going to launch an amphibious operation, that amphibious operation would not have direct combat air support initially, especially the use of helicopters operating from some of these vessels, and then obviously the fixed wing assets such as Su-25 Frogfoots would be in jeopardy of being shot down by a rather robust Ukrainian air defense network that would have to be softened before a amphibious operation would take place. Otherwise, those amphibious forces would land, in all probability, would be outnumbered and would not have the direct support of ground attack aircraft initially, because of the air defense systems in the Ukraine. And again, it's robust. Do your own research on that. Again, they possess a host of systems that could make it very difficult for the Russians to fly over certain parts of Ukraine. And again, in all probability, I would say that in terms of an operation kicking off, I would say that we would not have to wait for those 6 ships to arrive in the theater of operations. In all likelihood, you would have to have some sort, again, of softening and initial attacks to degrade the air defense network of Ukraine prior to said operation. So again, I would say it's doubtful at all that we would initially see any sort of amphibious operation near Odessa. More likely, we would see it near Mariupol or west of Mariupol, I would say. Now, with that being said, I could be completely proven wrong, and there could be an operation, but in that Odessa area. But again, I would say it's doubtful, very doubtful, in fact. And again, that's really the news we have for right now in terms of any additional troop movements that have been reported on. Obviously, there is a lot of troops moving right now on the part of the Russian Federation, but again, some of those details are just very hard to exactly identify what units are being moved. We continue to hear about units from eastern Russia, from the Far East, being moved towards Belarus. Now, whether that's the case, whether it could be a unit from the Southern Military District, it seems likely that the units would also, that could be moved quickly into Belarus, would be coming from the this army group right here, the Sixth Army. And again, you're looking at both motorized units, and then you're also looking at you have the 76th Air Assault Division here as well, which could be deployed very, very quickly into Belarus. Whether they're there yet, we're currently unsure. But again, we're watching it very, very closely. Now, in terms of the timetable of any said operation by the Russians against Ukraine, I would say the Russians are now going to have to start looking at the mobilization of Ukraine, because right now it appears that Ukraine has recalled at least 130,000 reservists or former contract soldiers. So the Ukraine is quickly expanding its force posture very quickly with these additional reservists that are being recalled. And 130,000 is a significant force that could be deployed against any sort of Russian activity. But that is something else the Russians are going to have to now look at in terms of their timetable. How quickly is the Ukraine going to continue to mobilize, and is that a factor into kicking off a quicker operation before the Ukrainians can fully mobilize? Because I would say right now the Ukrainians are probably mobilizing just as quick as the Russians right now in terms of their activity as well. So again, I think all eyes right now are on between now and probably the first half of February. It's getting ready to get very, very cold in the area of operations, eastern Ukraine, western Russia, Belarus. Now, with that being said, I would say that it is unlikely that the Russian military is paying too much attention to that issue in terms of the ground freezing. I would say that probably a lot of the movements by the Russian forces that are going to be moving around, especially the heavy motorized units, are going to be largely operating near major roadways. They're going to be running columns down, say, the E391, E391, and other areas. And it's I mean, obviously they will be going over terrain as well, non roadways. But again, I don't think that this whole concept of the ground has to be completely frozen for the Russians to start operations. I think it's something that people are looking at too closely and are kind of overhyping. And again, I think the deployment of these naval ships are kind of an overhype as well. I would say the biggest danger for the Ukrainian military at this point is the Russian Air Force. It's ballistic missile systems, it's cruise missiles, and then obviously large mechanized formations crossing over in eastern Ukraine, and then the deployment of Spetsnaz and air mobile forces as well. But again, the Russians have not always been they have not always used amphibious operations to the best of their ability. Um, well, with that being said, we did see the actual airborne forces launched an amphibious operation in the 2008 war against Georgia, and the Russians actually landed airborne troops via Rapocha landing ships, the same ones that are now being moved from the Baltics and the North Sea Fleet to possibly the Black Sea. But they launched an operation here on Pati by airborne troops deployed in these landing craft. And the reason for that was when the 2008 war kicked off, it was the airborne forces that were best prepared and ready to go of all the Russian armed forces. And that gives further credence that the war was actually initiated by Georgia in its attempt to retake South Ossetia over here. So this whole concept of a Russian invasion of Georgia is just something that is a farce. It was an actual operation by Georgia, an invasion by Georgia of South Ossetia, which really started the fighting. and they attacked a Russian peacekeeping unit in South Ossetia as well, the Georgia. But I'm kind of getting off track here. But anyway, we're going to continue to monitor the situation. It is really, really intense, and if this all kind of eventually just dissolves into nothing, then I would say that probably not a lot of attention is going to be paid to what Russia is doing henceforth. But at the same time, Putin has spent an incredible amount of assets in terms of deploying these forces to Western Ukraine. And it is a huge force indeed that he has employed. So we're going to continue to watch and report, and we'll have more later. Have a good day, everybody.